My name is Clara Tauson, and I'm a friend of the show.
Boom.
I am Francisca George, and I'm a friend of the show.
Perfect.
Hi, my name is Susan Leemans and I'm a friend of the show.
Boom. Yeah.
My name is Zainab Samas and I'm a friend of the show.
Boom.
Hey guys, my name is Sasha Vickery and I'm a friend of the show.
Boom.
Hi, my name is Lloyd Harris and I'm a friend of the show.
Perfect.
Hi, my name is Jaime Faria and I'm a friend of the show.
Boom.
Yes.
Take one. Well done.
Hi, my name is Jasmine Paulini and I'm a friend of the show.
Wow, Jasmine, you got it in one time.
Ready? Play.
It's been a good week for a couple of friends of the show, but it's not Jasmine Paolini, unlike this time last year. Jaime Faria going out in the quarterfinals in Rio, but obviously that's a hell of a run from him. And then Clara Tauson is in the final in Dubai, Vanch. I asked a similar question just now regarding our two finalists from before, particularly Jack Draper. Are we surprised that Clara Tauson is in the final of a WTA 1000 and this year in particular?
Yeah, I can't say I definitely saw this one coming. I think the Draper one you could, definitely see, sort of, it's more likely. But like this one, you definitely saw signs of it. When she won Auckland, when she put Sabalenka pretty hard, plays the big hitters pretty well, and has been in general, form climbing up to her career high ranking. But the fact that she took out Sabalenka as easily as she did, okay, maybe it wasn't the most highly motivated, most determined version of Sabalenka. Certainly not the case, but still, like the way she then backs it up, by beating, beating Noskova, for instance. She was down like 5-3, 40 love in that match, and two players who play kind of very similarly. But Tauson has just been slowly kind of building the last 1 year, and she's she's always had a ton of potential, like for the last 4 or 5 seasons, but she mostly hasn't been able to put it together because of health. She's had two really debilitating back injuries that have really set her back. But like to end of 2021, we already saw like kind of what her top level is. And even at the start of 2022, when she almost beat Danielle Collins, and then Collins goes on to make the final at the Australian Open, and you're kind of thinking, okay, like Clara Tauson should be in the mix soon. But now she's done it, and she makes this huge splash, and sometimes it feels like you don't really have too much of a say because she hits the ball so big, and it's so clean, and it's such easy power, kind of like Anisimova last week as well. I sense there's been some kind of a theme going on in the WTA where it's like all those really talented teenagers finally are starting to hit their stride and, always peaking at the same time. So it's pretty exciting, actually.
Yeah, I think you're right to obviously mention Tauson's health, which has obviously held her back. But yeah, I think when I was talking about Felix before, obviously making the semis in Doha and him winning a couple of titles this year. And yeah, Tauson has actually been quietly, or maybe slightly more than quietly, having a good year. And I'm maybe given the quality of her opponents, Svitolina, Sabalenka, Noskova, and Mukova en route to the final, maybe you wouldn't expect her to win all of those. But sometimes you have a feeling for an underdog, or you get an impression with the way Tauson and Sabalenka were building up for that match in the round of 16. And maybe I was surprised that Sabalenka won just 5 games. But I was quietly optimistic for Clara's chances in that match because it was so close in Australia. And as Sabalenka said in her post-match press conference, because I think the question was from Basel of this parish occasionally, and obviously has his own show. And he was like, how was it different to Australia? And Clara was obviously different today. And she said, and Sabalenka said, yeah, but I was different. And Australia is Australia. And we know exactly what arena means by that. I'm a different beast there, both physically, mentally, and preparation wise. Anyway, I wasn't surprised. But then to come through Noskova in the way she did, as you highlighted, Mukova, I saw that as a 50-50. Mukova is a bridesmaid, really, of tennis full stop, not just Grand Slams, but obviously not winning a title yet. So that just has to happen one day if she can also stay healthy. But yeah, Tauson and Mukova, two players that have been affected so much by health. What did you make of that semi-final today?
Yeah, but I thought it was a pretty fun watch. I mean, Tauson in the beginning, like she just has that kind of power where even Muhova with all of her options and when she's kind of pinned in the backhand corner, Tauson can just rush her and take that time away and just there's going to be a few missed shots because Muhova is such a shot maker, so she's sometimes gonna go for serve and volleys or go for these kind of really extravagant plays that work most of the time. But the way Tauson is absorbing pace right now, the way how short her takebacks are, just how well she's serving as well. I was very impressed by Tauson's serve, especially in the third set, because Muhova did so well to win that second set tiebreak, and you kind of felt like all the momentum was on her side. She was up a break, but then it just takes it didn't take much for that match to turn around. Like I actually think Tauson won it more than Muhova lost it, and she won it because 2-all 15-40 ace, and then another break point in that game, another ace. So her serving came alive big time, and she's really hard to read. It's really hard to read her ball toss as well because it's pretty low, and there's not a clear when she's in such a good serving rhythm like this, and just the form that she's in right now, it's kind of hard to to combat that if you're not having a really awesome, excellent day and you're not just like anticipating. And she was so good at deep down in that third set, like her serve bailed her out of trouble many times. Even her second serve as well, when Muhova was taking cuts, taking chances, Tauson was just kind of ready for everything. And so that impressed me, was just like how prepared and how well she was anticipating all of Muhova's moves. But yeah, so at the end it was a pretty fun watch. I still have a feeling Muhova, if she stays healthy, knock on wood, like there will be a big title coming soon. She's had some tough opponents in these finals. She was up a break in the third set against Iga and Roland Garros, and that's like maybe the closest she's ever come to actually winning another title. But and honestly, what's great about Muhova is she can play on any surface, any conditions. So she has as good of a chance everywhere pretty much to win. And if okay, maybe Iga has a stranglehold at the French, but still, just considering how tight that match was, she just needs to stay healthy. Whereas, so for Tauson to come through, I thought it was pretty impressive on the stretch.
I found these two Middle Eastern tournaments really fascinating, with the 4 semi-finals that we had today that were all so close. All I think were 3-setters, and some of them, of course, were deciding set tie breaks. Mirra Andreeva, by the way, again, so many parallels with the other tournament on the men's side. Mirra Andreeva and Tauson have both had sort of tricky paths. In fact, you can't really get much trickier than Mirra Andreeva's run, in terms of the fact that she's had to come through Swiatek and Rybakina en route to the final. I mean, before that, she had Avanesian, by the way, winning that, just losing 3 games as well. So I'm just looking at some of the score lines here, and a 6-love set over Vondrousova before losing just 2 games to Stearns. I mean, she got to that semi-final without dropping a set, playing Avanesian, Vondrousova, Stearns, and Swiatek, which is pretty insane. Today, she was down a break in that third set, and I thought, okay, probably it's going to be too much. And I think she thought that. She said in a post-match interview on court, basically saying, well, I had a good week. It was what she was thinking mentally when she was down a break in that third set. Maybe that loosened her up a bit, because she hadn't threatened the Rybakina serve for quite some time. I think she hadn't had a break point for like a set and a half. And then she goes and breaks Rybakina twice in quick. In fact, I think it was 3 times in succession, because I think she sealed the match with a break as well.
Yeah, that's what impressed me the most. The fact that she broke Rybakina 3 times from 3-1, Rybakina serving 3-1, 30-all. She comes up with this outrageous backhand pass. She has that ability to hit open stance and kind of read where the opponent is going. But what impressed me both against Iga and Elena, she uses the forehand squash shot really well, and she uses the slices, defensive slices, not in a sort of like Muhova way where she's just mixing up the pace, but more like she's forced to, like when she's on the run, when she's stretched out wide, it just puts them in these really awkward spots where they have no choice but to come in or basically retreat to no man's land. And then that's where Andreeva is so strong, because she uses like her consistency. It seems like she doesn't ever make wrong choices when it comes to her shot selection, even though she has a bunch that she can use, but she's just so like consistent, like level-headed, and she's added a ton of pace to her shots. Her serve, for instance, is such a big weapon now. When not just the 10 aces that she hit against Iga, but the way she was saving break points at the end. Because even though she broke back Rybakina at 3-2, she still had to hold again for 3-all. Still had to serve. She was up 4-3, and she was down love 40 in that game, and she just hits. She
Yeah.
hits 3 unreturnables or something. It was crazy. Like she, you know, she mentally, I think at times last year and the last couple of years, she's obviously given her age and she's already super mature. But at times, we have seen it also get the better of her in some moments. But I feel like she's improving in that area so much, and maybe that's with Conchita Martinez. I feel like she's got a little bit more, you know, less reason to worry and panic in those situations than she did like a year ago. So she just keeps getting better, honestly. Like she's a very different player now than when she came out of the scene in Madrid, where she got those 3 top 20 wins and made the fourth round. You kind of, you knew there was something special, but I think like now, like, yeah, it's actually coming together. She's also another player who could break the top 10 pretty soon.
This is a take off just one or two matches that spring to mind, or a few matches that spring to mind. But it's almost like, for me, and I'm thinking about the French Open in particular last year, when she turns up, she turns up. When she turns up, she's ready to win matches, if you like. And then sometimes maybe when the pressure does get to her, it's not like she's forced a tight 3-setter. It's like that semi-final against Jasmine Paolini when she just, I think the occasion did get the better of her, and she never really turned up at all and lost that, I think, in straights. Looking, by the way, below at the top 10 predictions that both Gil and myself have, I actually didn't realize until the other day, just having a quick look at this again, these were obviously made in December last year. I didn't realize until the other day that Gil didn't have Mirra Andreeva in his top 10 at all. Does that surprise you a little bit?
No, I mean, I can see why not, because you still have to, you still think at 17 there's still, what's encouraging is that she can still get so much better. So maybe, because sometimes it just takes like one big title, one big run to get that, and if you're not confident that she's going to do it
in December, Vance, would you have had her in your top 10 at the year end of 2020?
No, but I don't think it would have. I don't think it was like a sure bet. Like I would have had to, like I would have had. I would be on the fence about it, because like that jump is pretty hard to make, like from 16, 17 to like 5 or 6 or whatever it was, whatever it is in the top 10. The top 10 is pretty crowded right now, like in terms of how good the top 10 was at the end of 2024. It seemed kind of hard to like not imagine that like 7 or 8 of those players would be there again, at least for me, when I was thinking about it. So I'm not too shocked that he didn't have it. If he didn't have it, he would have probably had him like just outside the top 10.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
Maybe 11 or 12. I don't think, he would have been too far off. At least that's my guess. I don't know. But
yeah. I mean, it's been a good few weeks for obviously winning the Australian Open, but it's been a good few weeks for Madison Keys not even playing, and she's just creeping up the rankings because everyone just there's just everyone's sort of scratching for form in that.
Still going to be number one in the race by the time Indian Wells starts.
Yeah, right. And it's just because the players, and I know I put out a tweet that I know you, for example, you countered it, and many others did as well, and maybe I clumsily put it, but I still was.
Yeah, but I know what you were going for. I know what you were going for in terms of like the top players aren't at their best right now, and
it was a soccer sort of thing. It's in soccer, if you're 3 points clear at the top of the table, for example, and you go and lose 2 matches in a row, but your nearest 2 rivals who are 3 or 6 points behind, they go and lose 2 matches in a row. You're like, oh, we got away with that one, that we've actually, not playing very well right now, but our nearest, now it doesn't really matter, what the players in tennis are, in this respect, are doing. If they're 15, 20, 25 in the world, they could be winning, 10 matches in a row, but they're far enough behind that they're not going to be causing any damage. And again, we've got a situation here with Andreeva and Tauson, both of which outside the top 10 currently. I'm not sure where Mirra Andreeva and Tauson will be ending up, but Mirra Andreeva in particular, is she close to now breaking into the top 10?
I can check. I didn't actually look at it, but yeah, I think she's 11 right now, and if she wins, you know what? Actually, if she wins tomorrow,
there you go.
If she wins tomorrow, she will be number 9. So there you go.
Will she win tomorrow, Vanch? It's such these four, like I say, these 4 semi-finals today and these 2 finals tomorrow. And by the way, we've had a few shocks and surprises in Rio as well, including Zverev obviously going out today. it's been in the absence of Yannick Sinner on the men's side and the scratchy form of Swiatek and Sabalenka on the women's side, it's getting harder and harder to make these predictions. And that final between Tauson and Andreeva is just, honestly, it's so tough to call.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to it and excited about it, but I don't know, honestly. Like, I don't have a clear read because
Just before we get to it, Vanch, what
Yeah.
about sort of the dynamics? You mentioned sort of the serve, for example, that's so
Right.
tough to read. You know, where could it be won and lost? I think mentally it's pretty tricky to call because we've seen from both players physical, you know, certainly on Clara's, you know, side of things, physical issues, but we don't quite know where each player is at when it comes to big finals because they've not been in a big final before. Tauson at least has won a title this year. But we don't, it's such a tricky one. What about in terms of the match itself? Where can you see it being won and lost?
I can see it being won and lost because I think what Mirra does a little bit better than Tauson right now, especially, is when she's stretched out wide and when she's in really compromised defensive positions. She has this really good ability to get back in the point and just get it back to neutral. Whereas with Tauson, you kind of feel like, okay, like more points are going to be on her racket. She's going to have more easy offense potentially. You know, especially with how big she can hit, and she can maybe Mira's going to have to do a really good job of keeping the ball deep. But then also when she's on the defense, use those squash shots, use that slice defense, and use the higher loopier balls because you know Mirra also does a really good job of hitting that moon ball and then getting back into the rally and then waiting for the right ball to attack, and then the drop shots as well. She has such good feel and drop shots, and you don't see them coming as well. And she's so good at like those auxiliary things, you know, like those kind of the stuff in between the baseline and the net. She's so good at that, and she's so good at anticipation and just kind of reading the play. She reminds me a lot of Martina Hingis because her IQ is so strong in terms of how she's reads the game, and it feels like she's like you're playing chess and she's 2 moves ahead of you, that kind of thing. Whereas Tauson right now, um, is similar in terms of like what's similar about them right now is the way they're serving. They're hitting their spots really well. They're both being really aggressive on their +1, but I think Tauson is a little bit more. It's more kind of hit or miss, where like she could have a patch where she's dialed in and she's playing really well for 5 games in a row, and she's just crushing second serve returns and she's serving great. But then she could also have a few more of those lulls, and I think Mirra
she'll
right
always be
now,
like. I think she'll always be like that, Fanch, and
yeah,
I don't want to. I mean, always is probably a bit of a stretch because we don't know. I mean, you could have said that
mhm,
about Sabalenka for like 5 years, and now we see where she is
yeah,
now. But I do think Towson will probably be like that for large parts of her career anyway.
yeah.
I
I
mean,
mean, certainly because I mentioned the injuries, but I do also think sometimes she's gone away in some matches, and like the
yeah.
focus dips in and out, and like that has been a common theme with her. Whereas for Andreeva, I think the level and the consistency. I mean, she dropped just like 6 games in. She never dropped more than 6 games en route to the semis. So kind of, I don't know. Like for a run like this, I'm slightly leaning Andreeva again, but it's
Me too.
like, yeah, I'm
Me
not
too.
even as I'm like 52-48. It's very very close. I don't have a
Yeah.
ton of confidence, but
I remember. So I say, well, I remember. It was only 20 minutes ago we were talking about it, but
yeah,
yeah, the men's final in Doha, I was 51-49, leaning towards Rublev, and you were sort of very, very marginally leaning towards Draper. Although I think on this one, we're both leaning with 1% more conviction anyway towards
mhm.
Mirra Andreeva, right?
Yeah, like
Those
for
two, I mean, those two wins on top of the 3 that preceded it. As we look at Andreeva's run to the final here on the screen, I mean,
yeah,
yeah,
so
and I'm going for it as well, Vanch, just because because I don't really know. And then there's one when you were talking a minute ago, and I was thinking about, okay, how do I see these two players? How do I see their careers going? Who's going to probably end up with the bigger titles at the end of their career? Slams, 1000s, and Towson might pick up a 1000, and who knows, maybe even more. But if you pushed me into a corner and said which one of these two is going to have the better career in terms of numbers, I would say Mirra Andreeva, partly because of where she is in terms of her age and her cycle, but also just because I think that, I just think there's a bit more of a complete package there. And I even think it now, even they're different ages. So I am going to go for Mirra Andreeva in 3 sets.
No, honestly, the complete package is what really impresses me, because she does so many different things all so well. And she's only going to get better because she's getting stronger physically. She's learning from all those previous tough losses. She's got Conchita Martinez in her corner, and she just looks a little bit more secure to me right now. And like, if you were to put a gun to my head in like the very tight moments, who do I trust a little bit more? I'm still going to go at Andreeva even right now. So
yeah, me too. Yep. Super, super tough. And quite possibly in 12 hours or so from now, you and I will both be completely wrong with our predictions, but that's just because it's so, these matches, I think, that are coming up on Saturday are so close to call. But listen, big thanks, Vanch, for joining for these 2 live shows that we've just done. Most of the time we do these pre-recorded, but today I was going to say for one reason or another, but I basically said to Vanch, I'm done with editing videos, and they're not a big edit, but they are another 20 minutes on my day, if you like, half an hour on my day for these 2. So I just said, let's just do them live. And it was great to have some people in the live chat as well. Do make sure you give us a follow on the socials. So for Talking Tennis, that's at Talking Tennis TT on Instagram and on Twitter. I'm going to add your Twitter thing across the bottom of the page right now, Vanch, so we can see that. Also check out, of course, the Igor and Carlos show. Neither of those 2 players are in finals this week, so your next episode of that, which I guess will be pretty soon, if you want to, you get it in sometime before the Sunshine Double, right?
Yeah, I mean, originally we even thought about recording yesterday right after they lost, but then because of scheduling and because we're like, okay, at this point we'll just wait till the tournament's over. So it'll be coming out soon.
Be coming out soon, and obviously there's Vanch's Twitter or X handle, as you can see across the bottom of the screen. Anyway, big thanks for tuning in. Thank you, Vanch.
Yep, thank you, John.
And to the rest of you, you know the drill. If you enjoyed this video, make sure you hit that like button. Don't forget to subscribe and click that notification bell so you don't miss out on all things tennis.